I'm happy to share. Well, open to the sharing. So thinking about eating disorders and my own experience, like I say, was kind of, I think I was about 17 and I mean, at college, things were like, as they do when you're 17, you're going to go and have new experiences of life, got lots of pressure. I'd also had experiences with my mum's dieting processes where I had lived my entire life with, like we just talked about Rosemary Connolly's diet um, regime on the back of the cupboard door, and her always worried about her weight and her size, and we must eat this food and that food, and being quite regimented. And I think before the officialness of a eating disorder, going back to, I had diagnosed with IBS about 12, 13, which meant I had to change what I was eating. So I was very diet controlled and a lot of pain. And so I remember even then restricting a lot of my foods. I would eat omelette. That was it. So I couldn't have dairy, which meant I couldn't have dairy. I couldn't have any ice cream. I couldn't have chocolate. And as that went over, I couldn't have wheat. So then I had, back in the day, the tiny little cardboard squares of what was called gluten-free bread, which, if anyone's experienced today's version versus then, is like nothing in comparison. So I was already having to be quite restrictive. And being a teenage girl, had felt bigger than other girls. I was quite sporty, but I had this kind of image thing that I just didn't fit in. I didn't meet society's norms of being skinny and pretty and all the rest of it, which wasn't true. I wasn't fat. I wasn't any of those things. But at that time, I really, yeah, absolutely better. I was chunky. I was this. I was the other. So 17 came, and one day I woke up and I was like, "That's it. I'm going to make myself sick." Just decided there and then. It's only going to be only today, and only breakfast was how my mentality went, and it was horrendous. But I did it. But then that became a cycle of almost like an addiction of, okay, just breakfast. Okay, now it's lunch as well, but it, it, it will never be dinner. And so that continued and the cycle went. That just cycled really. Went to university, had to leave university. I really was not very well. I was very, very small. Couldn't concentrate, couldn't do anything. I was about, I don't know, I can't even remember how much I weighed, but didn't weigh very much, and I was incredibly skinny. However, that was from what would be called a bulimic behavior. So I think it's very interesting that when we get to talking and looking at specific eating disorders and the treatments available later on, to think back to what I was like with what I would class and look at by the diagnosis tools as bulimia. I was absolutely underweight. I was skin and bones. Nothing fit me. Nothing stayed down. But I was bulimic. I wasn't anorexic. But I looked anorexic. So I think it's really interesting when we look at eating disorders as to what the characteristics are and how people present, as to actually maybe it's potentially more of an individual thing of how people relate with their eating disorder, and then for how their bodies respond to that individually.